Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest of the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Jermaine E. on the line, and he is founder of HeirLight. Jermaine, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Before we start, actually, I wanted to give you some shout out that, we've met 8 years ago and you were already interviewing people for your show. So I would just want to, give you your flowers and say, congratulations for being so consistent all these years.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. And I was like, I know this guy, Jermaine. Come on. I remember things. I don't know if that's a gift or a curse. I enjoy remembering you. I don't enjoy remembering everybody I've met, Jermaine. Well, let's get into content today. So first thing first, I see the title here, Founder and HeirLight. So maybe just start off with a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so HeirLight actually came out of a conversation with my mom. Her and I were having lunch at our favorite Thai spot out in Pasadena. And I just asked her, hey, have you thought about retiring? And after a few rounds of prying, I realized that she had this underlying fear, the fear about running out of money before dying. And I think that's what's holding her back. And so I just asked her again, like, hey, with that fear, do you know what you have today? And she said, yeah, I know what's in my savings, but there's not like a list somewhere. And so it hit me that even if she knew, if she had enough, she wouldn't really have known. And so I set out to build this app as an inventory tracker for all of her assets and her people in her life and the bucket list that she has, because I wanted to help her see that at some point she can probably just relax a little bit and spend some of her savings on her dreams. And that app just evolved into a will maker, because I realized if I had all this info, I can help you make a will and, by extension, a healthcare directive, a power of attorney and beyond. And that's how HeirLight was born.
And how did you know, or at what point did you know that this would be, and I like to ask entrepreneurs this, when it starts at kind of maybe a small idea or a thing, and then it grows, and then you're like, wait a minute, I'm really solving something here. When did you know that this was going to be something that you'd spend, significant time and effort on? What was it in the beginning, right off the bat, or did it take a little while? Was it like when did you know?
Yeah, so I've been a founder 4 times before this. And so, the last 4 times I was, to be honest, chasing money. I was thinking, I want to be the cover of TechCrunch and say how much money I've raised and things like that. And the last 2 years, I was just searching for something a little bit more meaningful. I wanted to build something, not take investor money, and just do it because I care. And this conversation with my mom just came about. And I thought, what better thing to do than to build an app for all the people like me, all the people who had never thought how to create a will and how to protect what you've earned. And so that's where it hit me, where if I had to work on this for a very long time, that would be okay.
And where are you at with the product now today? Let's go into maybe a kind of present day. Where's the product stand today?
Yeah, so we started really putting this thing together in July, and unfortunately my mom passed away in August 23, so exactly 2-ish months ago. And so I launched this app on her birthday last Saturday to California and iOS. And so now it's out there in the world, and we're building it out for the rest of the states, for all the other devices. And we also want to make sure that we deliver on our promise. There's a lot of things we cannot do as an app, like we can make a will for someone, but there's a lot of people out there that requires attorney support and, really more expert hands-on help that I don't feel confident doing it through an app. And so we're building out a network that if I have all your information, I can pair you up with an attorney that fits exactly what you need, hopefully at the price point that you need. And so we're building out these tools. So that's where we're at with the product right now.
Wow. Sorry to hear about your mom. I mean, that's just, especially, it's interesting from the standpoint of how sometimes these setbacks and these things that happen to us, they kind of give different clarity on things we're working on. When my mom passed, and for my long-term listeners, they know this, but when my mom passed last year, tornado, craziest thing ever, and it gave me just a whole nother understanding of the level of importance of what I do. At first, it was as part of it's money, media, it's what I do in terms of like just, work, it's business, right? But then after she passed, like I look back and I'm like, man, one of the things that I value most now, Jermaine, it's kind of crazy to me, but I brought her on the show 3 times and I have those recordings so I can still hear her voice. I can still feel her spirit and feel like her work. And so it's interesting. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day and I'm like, man, it's like I would have never had that like complexity or that bit of understanding of just life, as a man growing through life and, life changes and losing people, which we all will if we're blessed to get older, right? And so now I can't even imagine like what like HeirLight has taken on for you, right? It was originally a conversation with your mom and now you're going to go on to help, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people with this. I think it's something special,
Yeah, hopefully millions of people, because
Yeah.
the truth is there's a lot of communities that don't get this kind of help. There's there's very little resources for folks who don't speak English as the first language at home. There's a lot of, people who it's a taboo topic in some cultures. And so navigating that through a conversation with a really intelligent AI helps bridge the conversation, I think, for a lot of people. But to touch on just the idea of clarity, just 2 weeks before she had passed, because of my work with this app with her, I realized that she always wanted to go to where The Sound of Music was filmed in Salzburg in Austria. And so right before she was admitted to the hospital, 2 weeks before that, we were actually in Salzburg and I recorded the whole thing. And she was, at some point I had a clip of her that say, "I'm living in my dream."
Whoa.
And so for me, this app took on a whole new meaning that, I would like to help more people find this clarity with the people that they love, because when I first started, honestly, it was like a fun AI project. What can I do with AI? Because it understands all the languages that my mom wants to speak to it. Instead of just her talking to an attorney in English, she can talk to my app in Mandarin. And so the ultimate goal here is clarity. Making a will is just the beginning. Eventually, I want to inspire people to get healthy, both physically and mentally, and to plan their bucket list, to be conscious about how they spend time with their loved ones and documenting all these things, because even through my 6-7 months process of building HeirLight, it has impacted me in a way that I will hold dear for the rest of my life. And so I think that is the goal. That is the mission that I'm on. And I hope I can bring this to millions of people.
Oh, man, that's exciting. And I didn't even think about the language capability. Of course, it's going to reach millions of people, especially when you're talking about different languages and otherwise. Like, that's awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. And in terms of, I'm curious on like what are the plans? I know you're still in the building and you just unveiled it, but like, how do you plan, of course, coming on shows like mine and otherwise, but like, talk to me a little bit about the rollout and like plans and like just next steps. Like, what's the vision for let's say 2026? What's next on the docket?
Yeah, so we have a really big challenge in terms of there's 50 states in the U.S. and all 50 states have slightly different requirements. And so we're going to roll it out state by state to make sure that we cover the probate code properly and that we have good attorneys. I'm going to interview every attorney that comes on our platform. I want to make sure it's a human touch. So I want to make sure the onboarding from my users to the lawyer is great. And so trust is the only thing that I have, and I'm going to slowly roll this out. And I'm in a good position because I didn't raise any money, so I don't have this pressure of growth. In fact, I've turned down money because I just didn't want to have to look at my KPI every month and say, hey, how many users have I grown and what is the churn? I don't want to play that game at this point for this app. And so, my goal is to go on the more high information places. So like podcast is a great place to be. I believe this app requires a lot of education. So we'll take our time, we'll start rolling it out. And of course, if something went viral and we figure out a really good CAC to LTV ratio, a very really reliable revenue, I'm always happy to raise growth capital and get on that treadmill, so to speak. But I'm perfectly happy running it just as a business myself, and I'm in a really good spot right now. So, I have 2 engineers, I have 2 designers, so things are going well. A team of 5, we're chopping along.
No, that's great to hear. And so right now you're in California is the first state. I think I caught that at the beginning, right? Obviously, a lot of people that listen to this, so I guess I'll take this from this same question, but from 2 angles. Maybe let's start with kind of like the B2B angle, if you will. Lawyers that are, maybe listening to this and otherwise, you mentioned you're going to be interviewing individuals to be part of the platform. Like what does that look like? What does that process look like? Let's start there.
Yeah, so we've gone back and forth about this. And in fact, I've talked to about exactly 18 lawyers as of this morning about this. And, the role of lawyers typically when they look at a client, from what I've realized now, is that they assess the risk. How detailed does the estate plan have to be? And we, as an app, look at it from a completely different angle. We're like, how quickly can we get you to commit to this process and finish the will before you get tired and bored and drop out? So with this in mind, in terms of how I'm looking at lawyers, in the beginning, I was thinking, it would be great to have a partnership, an affiliate. But I realized there's some ethical concerns there where, I didn't want this to be a pay to play. And my ultimate trust, my guarantee, my promise is with the people who use HeirLight. And so the first step that I'm going to build out is actually going to be a free referral. Essentially, when a user comes into HeirLight, we'll explain to them what is a will, what is a health directive, what is power of attorney, and everything like that. And we set up triggers that tells us in the app if we need to recommend a trust to this person, if they have a blended family, for example, if they had prior lawsuits, or if they have a complex child guardianship, multiple stepchildren and things like that. We want to make sure we flag these things so that we can tell the app to suggest and educate what is a trust. Now, the truth is, a lot of people can really use the trust, but it comes down to also the price point, because a lot of people are priced out of working with an attorney, and I'm trying to find a solution for it. And so there are a lot of resources out there to actually make a will or a trust for free. What we offer is a higher level of certainty, is that when you come in, you trust HeirLight's with the way we've built the app to teach you, to explain things to you, and to explain best practices to you. Now, we're just like every other tool out there. We're a software. We're not giving legal advice. There's no client-attorney relationship formed here. So we do our best in making sure that our users, when they tell us what they want, we send them to the right place or help them fill out a will or a health directive in the best possible way that shows them, that reflects their wishes. And so we aim to be complete and comprehensive, but we know that, there's some things that a human attorney will do better.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And maybe you have this already in mind, maybe not. I know you got a whole lot of real estate to cover in just California itself. You could spend a lot of time here, but what are the next states? Or if you're heading to a next state, what would it be? Yeah,
so we look at the demographic breakdown, and the obvious states will be Texas, Florida, New York, Illinois. I think that covers 30% of the U.S. Of course, there's complexity in states too. For example, in Texas, there's some advertising of legal services that we cannot do. And so if I start talking about it on a podcast without a Texas bar, there's restrictions like that. So
Sure.
Good thing is, I've got a lot of friends who are giving me a lot of advices before I have to start paying those hourly rates. So
that's awesome.
So we're taking it one step at a time in regards of rolling out. But of course, the bigger states, we're going to try to hit those first.
That's awesome. Well, Jermaine, this has been really great having you on the show today and learning more about, obviously, your background and to reconnect with you. And again, so sorry to hear about your mom, and I understand. And you're part of that club now. I am too, and many of the listeners are as well. Not that we want to be, but, that's where we're at. But getting back to HeirLight, if people want to follow up, they want to learn more, they want to download it, they want to, do a demo or anything else like that, how do they do that?
So as of today, we're only on iPhone, iOS, but in a few weeks, we'll be out on Android as well. If you'd like to learn more about HeirLight, please visit us at HeirLight, HeirLight.com.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just head right on over. Check out HeirLight.com. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Jermaine, man, so good to reconnect. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Adam.